Ladies and gents, welcome back to the Away Day Show. I think episode 48 now, so we're getting close to the half century.
Close.
We're getting very close.
So next Monday then?
Next Monday will be the big one.
It's the big 5-0.
Big 5-0. Hopefully there's something a bit more exciting going on. Bit of an average week, I guess, in Premier League. There wasn't much going on. You're here, Flynn's not. We've axed him. We've officially sacked Flynn to us and everyone.
Yeah.
Say your prayer. He'll be back next week.
Hopefully he'll be back for the 5-0. He has to be back.
We might try and get all four of us on at once for a 5-0, maybe. We'll see how we go. But, yeah, interesting weekend. There's a lot of big games, but they sort of went as expected in many regards.
Yeah, like there was obviously a few games that were quite interesting. Looking at the Villa Tottenham game, that's a big game for the fight for top four.
Top four, yeah.
But mostly there was a lot of low scoring, draws.
A lot of draws.
A lot of one goal wins.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty, I'd say, boring Premier League weekend. Considering the games that are on, when you got fourth versus fifth, you had first versus second.
Yeah.
A few other games that were big, you would expect it a bit more, but that's how it is sometimes.
The calm for the storm, I think.
Yeah.
Let's get quickly into what you learned for the weekend. I'll get kicked off. I was going to sort of against what you said, but in general, the Premier League's going to be epic this year because you've got coming up. I think next week's big. I think Nottingham Forest play Luton and Bournemouth play Luton. So Luton have got their big chance to try and make it out. When Everton is struggling a little bit at the bottom, they just can't score goals. So the relegation battle is going to get interesting. Crystal Palace haven't really been as good as recently. Surprisingly, the bottom two actually got results on the weekend.
Yep.
Then you've got the top, obviously, and we saw what happened last night with the draws. And now they're all on the exact same points. Basically, City are one off, but 1 point in this time of the year means nothing. You want the 3 points, right? So they're all equal on the top. You've got obviously the top four race now that Tottenham battered Villa. It's just going to get pretty tasty here in the last 10 games. So I guess what I learned was this last 10 games is going to be epic. I think it's going to be the best last 10 games that I guess you and me in terms of being able to understand and watch it. It's probably the best that we're going to have to see for the last sort of 5 to 6 years. I feel like it's been massive. Anything for you?
City don't look to be wanting to run away with the...
Not yet.
Yeah, with the league. Not yet. Usually by now, I know in past years they've had the Gundo experience. Yeah. And there's been the flick of the switch come after Christmas, heading into Feb. But yeah, it hasn't seemed to be like that this year. They haven't set the world on fire. Don't get me wrong, they're keeping they're 1 point off the top of the ladder. You can't complain. If you're City, you're in a great position going into the final 10 games. But in comparison to the years that have gone past, it has been a bit of a different City, I would say. I think we're just sitting there patiently waiting for City to just go, okay, bye-bye to Arsenal and Liverpool. But as the weeks go on, they're just not doing that. By now, they've usually put a little gap there. Are they going to flick the switch? We're getting into the final 10 games now. Usually with 4 or 5 games to go, it's already done because they flicked the switch with 15 games to go. But now we're 10 games to go. I don't know if they're capable. Maybe they're not capable of flicking the switch this year. Maybe maybe right now is the peak of their powers of what we're going to see in the 23-24 season.
I think it's a good point because I was going to touch on it when we got to them, but I might as well touch on it now. I think this year it's that the league's just a bit more we say this every year, but I feel like this year's actually a thing where the league's actually very level. So any day some team can, because City, let's say they're probably at 95%. We know that 5% is massive. That's sometimes 3 results. But in the Premier League, I feel like a lot of teams around them are doing as well or can compete as well. I think the Liverpool-Arsenal thing, because there's 2 of them there, it makes that classic City run-in look a bit worse because both teams are going with them. Whereas if it's just Liverpool, or if it's just Arsenal, and maybe one team drops points, if Liverpool are drawn to another team this weekend, it looks a bit bigger. But because there's 2 teams there, they're not both... Fingers crossed for the league. They're not both going to drop points in the same weekend. So it's always someone's right up City's backside. And when you've got the team, that was not so far ahead, but it just felt like a mental, a big gap because the way the 2 teams have played. Maybe that's why. I think City's still playing good, but the De Bruyne is De Bruyne getting dragged. These sort of players are not quite there. They're 95%. They're not 100% yet. Maybe you're right. Maybe 95 is the max they've got this year because they did win everything last year. We can't forget that. Backing up's not easy. They're still the Champions League, still in the FA Cup. So maybe there's running out of legs.
What's your thoughts? Because KDB's come straight back into the team and basically set the world on fire, been getting goals and assists, like game in, game out. But Haaland, so he's got his 18 Premier League goals. He had 14 prior to the injury going back in, October now?
Yeah, before
December. So he's had 4 then in the last 4 months now. Like, do you think they relied so heavily on him last year that now that he's gone, I know there's games like against United where Foden comes up with the goods, but do you think they have the ability to continually find goals without Haaland? Is that maybe the little bit of the difference between this year and last year?
See, last year you think they were able to do it because they were used to it, but maybe you're right. They've adjusted to Haaland and feed him. He was quiet at best.
Well, we have spoken about this in the past with like Haaland obviously is the best like poacher currently in football, but he doesn't provide much if he doesn't score.
Yeah.
So like obviously that's a very simple thing to get to. Like if you're a striker and you don't score, you're not valuable.
Yeah.
But like
look at Nunes though.
Yeah, there's some strikers who might have that hold up play and might have those 1-2 sequence of passes. Haaland doesn't really provide that. Haaland's either in the box for the tap in or in behind pretty much. Yeah. Would you say 95% of his goals like that?
100%. The thing is though, like, this is what you want from your striker, right? Yeah. This is where everyone differs. Where some people might just, back in the day, you'd love a Haaland because cross the ball, 4-4-2s, just get in the area.
Yeah.
But when you're alone, when you're against Liverpool, we'll obviously get in the game a bit later on, but when you're against Liverpool and Liverpool had a lot of the ball, everyone goes deeper. So Haaland's even more alone. So I don't know, like, I know you're always a fan of just let the striker do what they do, just let them score the goals. But do you think in like these big games against big clubs like Liverpool, like Arsenal, I sound stupid saying this, but would you want like an Alvarez rather up there that works back a bit more in a triangle?
No, I get what you're saying. There's like definitely an element of truth to what you're saying that you might consider an Alvarez. But when you got Erling Haaland there, I don't think any manager in world football would ever not put him on the team. He's that guy that although he might go quiet and like it might be a bit like it might be bad in that game. But he's also that same person that go score a hat-trick and solely win you a game as well. Definitely. So it's hard. I'm just saying it more from... We saw it last year. I know it was very, very small sample space. Yeah. But when he went on those like 2-3 like... quiet games, you saw the difference in City. And now that he's done it a few more times this year, we're also saying this from a... It's probably a bit... We're jumping the gun probably way too like early because they're 1 point off top, as like I said. Yeah. But I definitely think that if he doesn't start to score a few more goals, I don't know if City can go with Liverpool and Arsenal. I think that's true. Would you say?
I think that's true because the form right now is a bit shaky, and especially against the top 6 clubs. I'll touch on that when we get into the game recap. But quickly before we touch on the other games, so this obviously some massive games now. So you've got Arsenal have got Chelsea at some point. They've got City. They've got Brighton away. Villa at home. One I highlighted in my video, I think will be the toughest. It sounds stupid saying this, but I think Wolves away will be the hardest one in terms of have they got the mentality because Wolves will just sit back. You know what Gary Neville does? They'll just sit back and they'll have to break them down. Obviously United, second last game of the season. Hopefully they can beat them there and ruin their title race. And then Everton at home, the team that cost them the title basically last year as well. Liverpool got Everton. They've got Brighton. They've got Manchester United twice, obviously in the FA Cup as well. We've got Spurs, Aston Villa. Same as City. They have Spurs. They have Aston Villa. No, they have Wolves as well, sorry. And Aston Villa. Yeah, so Aston Villa and Spurs could cause problems in the title race. We'll obviously get into that when we get to those games, but there's going to be some big, big games to come. At least the last 10 games, it's going to be like every game's have so much meaning after, like every kick, every goal, especially with some of the big teams. Everyone has to play Aston Villa and Tottenham. Everyone has to play Wolves. 3 teams that are always hard to beat. Liverpool have got United. Arsenal have got United. City probably have the easiest run, but people think they're in the worst form. So it's all going to... It's so hard to read them. So hard to read.
Arsenal, 7 or 8 wins now in a row?
8 wins in a row.
Yeah,
and that's... 33 goals, I think, in the last
crazy.
6-7 games. Ridiculous. It's going to get very, very questionable at the end of the season, yeah. Let's start off with our boys. Manchester United, we're back again. This is like COVID football.
Yeah, it was a bit of an interesting game. It was weird. Very, very quiet.
Yeah.
But Everton didn't really show much. So, like, it was although United didn't, like, set the world on fire, Everton really didn't have any chances.
It was a classic Saturday morning game where it felt like everyone was asleep. Like it was like a bit of back and forth. It felt like a COVID game where like we were counter-attacking, they were counter-attacking. They just couldn't score. Everton got a problem, by the way. They can't score any goals. Calvert-Lewin's last goal came like...
He was on the bench. He got...
Yeah, for Beto. Last 2 games, Beto started. And that shows how bad they've got. Like, I think he hasn't scored in the last 4 months. And everyone's like, if Calvert-Lewin's there, they'll finish, mid-table. But he's not even starting anymore.
I know.
Because United, I think, were good in, like, patches. It was classic, just patchy, good counter-attacks. Garnacho was probably the best part in the pitch by, a long way. Like, he was the only one awake. I felt like everyone else was a bit slow and sluggish. I think Rashford and Bruno are 2 guys we don't particularly like at the moment, played well as well. I know they scored the penalties, but outside of that, they actually played well.
Yep.
I think for Everton, 09 was all right, but it just felt like a game where Everton accepted they were going to lose and United knew they were going to win. It was just the way it was. I don't know if you saw anything different about it.
Nah, definitely not. I think it was a very quiet game. United capitalised on their opportunities. They probably should have put more away, especially against that Everton team. Yeah. But you take the 3 points. I think that's really, really important. Looking at Højlund coming back in the...
Close now.
Yeah, hopefully this week, if not the week after. We're just trying to string those 3 points across until he comes back.
Get him back.
We saw that Malacia's not going to play any part in this whole year.
Has he been killed?
Yeah, so he's officially been ruled out by United. So that leaves us with no fit left backs.
That's ridiculous.
Left. So we've got Fernandes on loan at Preston.
But he can't be brought back, I read this.
Yeah, so he can't be brought back. Shaw,
gone.
I don't know if he's completely ruled out for the whole season, but he's definitely out for the next month.
Yeah, it'll have to be late in the season.
For the next month. And then Malacia's been ruled out for the whole season. So it looks like we're going to have to become accustomed to the Lindelof.
Amrabat sort of.
Yeah, Lindelof. How far is Wan-Bissaka?
I don't know anything about him.
So I'm just floating the opportunity. Does Dalot go back to left back? Wan-Bissaka come back to right back?
If he's available, yeah.
I think that's probably a better option than Lindelof because although Lindelof looks all right defensively, he doesn't have a left foot.
Yeah, on the ball he's shaky.
Yeah, he doesn't have a left foot. He's always cutting inside or playing that pass back, which has looked really, really dodgy. So I think there is a few concerns, but I think our main concern was Højlund because when he was there, we were having a lot more opportunities.
Yeah.
Bruno was playing his traditional number 10. He's looked to maybe flick the switch the tiniest bit in the last couple of weeks. I think he went through those 2 months where he was completely terrible. I think there had to be many question marks on him.
Yeah.
Whether he was going to get dropped.
Yeah,
I think if someone like a Mason Mount was fit, I think Ten Hag definitely would have given him an opportunity.
Yeah.
I think the lack of availability was a key factor in Bruno getting more chances. I think really the same with Rashford. If you had an informed Anthony and you could play Garnacho on the left, I think Rashford would have got dropped, but this is just more from we don't have that depth on the bench.
There's no one there.
I'm not sure what's happening to Ahmed. Bloke doesn't get on the pitch.
What he's done to the coach's daughter.
At the start of the season, he got a few minutes and he looked promising.
Disappeared.
Then now won't even get on the pitch. He's playing the likes of Forsen ahead of him and those type of players. It's looking all right though because I think if we can start, I wouldn't say our players are as out of form as they were previously this season. The likes of Rashford and Bruno, who I wouldn't say they're lighting the world on fire at the moment, but at least they're stringing some passes together. They're getting those one-on-one dribbles. They're being a lot more effective with the ball. You put Højlund there because right now we're playing this McTominay Bruno with the 2 inverted wingers.
Stupid.
I don't even know what we're really playing. And then Bruno ends up sometimes a striker, sometimes on the right, sometimes on the left, sometimes deep. It's ridiculous. It's just take the 3 points until Højlund comes back, which shows as well the fact United don't have a second number 9 is very, very scary. We don't have a second number 9. We don't have any fit left back. No. There does have to be there. Whether you say whatever you do about Ten Hag, you still look at teams like Liverpool, and maybe that is Ten Hag's fault because Liverpool have gone to the academy.
Yeah,
but you can't say Ten Hag hasn't gone to the academy. I think if there was someone there at left back, you have that Bradley, for Trent, I think he definitely would use him. He doesn't look like he's been scared to use the youth.
The bench is full of youth. The bench is 5 or 6 youth players. So I just think. It's not good planning. The fact you loan a player but you can't get him back, that's a stupid loan to me. You're the big club.
We had the 2 left backs and Reguilon, and then we saw Shaw came back, and I think they anticipated that
if you loan someone to a smaller club, you should be the one dictating the deal. So for Alvaro Fernandez, there should be. Why is there no like return clause? It's Preston. They're they might go for promotion this year, but they're a sort of mid-table championship team. Why are they getting the control of the deal and you're not? That's the question I ask.
Does Brandon Williams get another start? We know what he's done at left back before when Shaw was injured. I think he did a very good job.
He's going back to COVID. That's proper COVID days, yeah. Even having Maguire back would be handy as well. Johnny Evans as well, but he has to get subbed off for 65, 70 minutes.
Yep.
You want Maguire to there's a lot going on there. We want to touch on Everton as well. Onana played well. And I said that earlier about the goal scoring. They're going to have a bit of problem because they still haven't escaped this bottom. But I know we still think they'll be safe, but they're still there. 25 points. Luton with a game on hand, only 4 points behind them. I know they got the 4 points back, and I know they've had better moments, but a lot relies on Decore scoring goals, or a lot relies on McNeil and Harrison producing like prime moments, like Brexit wingers. They have the form right now. If they don't have the form, the goals just don't come, and the goals don't come, they'll be in a battle here because Nottingham Forest probably look better than them. I know they're still a point below them. They look better than them. Brentford look better. Palace look better. Luton arguably look better as well. So unless they can flick a switch quickly, it's going to get like final day again. And I feel bad for Everton fans. Every year it feels like the final day I have to get a win to stay alive. Do you think they'll be fine before the end of the season, or do you reckon it'll be going down to the last 2 games?
So I would have thought they would have been fine, but watching them up closely on the weekend, I don't know if that's going to be the case. I do think they have the players, though, to be able to flick a switch. So we'll see how it goes. There's still 10 match weeks left. As you know, as a relegation team, you only need to have that 2-3 games of form.
Yeah.
And
you're safe.
You're safe.
So they're down the bottom. United, touching distance of 5th.
Yeah, it's
6
an
points
interesting
off.
one. The only good thing is I'd say is both of them still have to verse the top 3. We've only got Liverpool and Arsenal. We've got Liverpool at home.
Yep.
I reckon we could maybe steal a point in there. We know when we went to Anfield.
West Ham obviously bottled as well. So we're 4 points ahead of West Ham now, which is handy.
Oh, we're going to finish 6th. It's whether we finish 5th. I would say even Tottenham probably look too good.
I think Tottenham without European football is going to help them out a lot. They're fresh. Because you saw, I'll talk about the game coming up later, but they just look fresher than Villa.
Yeah, exactly.
That helps. So handy result there. On to the next one, which is a bit of a shock for me. Bournemouth drew to Sheffield United. This is another one on the weekend. The relegation teams put up a good fight for 45 minutes and then decided not to play. The last 20 minutes was all Bournemouth. They could have made it 3-2.
Yeah.
Solanke missed a penalty for FPL fans as well.
Solanke's gone very quiet in the recent weeks.
He's not getting the same service I think he was towards the middle part of the season. They're still playing really well. They just can't score. They're similar to Everton to a different degree. They're playing really well. They just can't score goals. Like Bournemouth still take 2 goals. Coming from 2-0 down in the last basically 10 minutes, they scored both their goals. So they'd be impressive in that regard, but still not the points you want to be getting. This is back to our conversation a few weeks ago where you're probably in the right here, where they're not getting enough points as they should be getting. And that goes to show that, maybe a different style would suit this team, but you go out there and dominate the game, but you can't score against Sheffield United. That's a bit of a worrying sign. Obviously,
definitely.
This is obviously future playing now because they're just stuck in their own realm of their own reality down there in the mid-table. But yeah, I'm frustrated. You don't see the best of this team. You can't see the goals they're scoring. Can't see Solanke in the goal score sheet. He'd be frustrated because, how often would you see someone slip over? John Terry, obviously, but how often you see someone slip over taking a penalty, especially with these boots these days that are bloody perfect. Slipping around for a penalty, a few hitting the crossbar, a few missed chances. Just be kicking themselves. They couldn't get a big 3 points. Because they got this 3 points and beat Luton, they'd be up near Chelsea again. And we're saying, what a great season again. But now we're just saying, drop points to Sheffield United. Is this the right way to go about things? It all sort of swings and roundabouts with Bournemouth at the moment. Were you impressed with Sheffield United, though, getting a handy point?
Yeah, I think it doesn't really make too much of a difference. But yeah, it was impressive for them to... It was impressive for them still to know, like, as EPL fans, that they're not just, like, waving the white flag.
Not Derby.
Yeah, they haven't got the white flag and started waving it.
Sometimes I used to think with this team, God, after the Arsenal result, I was about to make a video saying how they could be the worst team in the Premier League. Even though they're not going to have the worst points, I still think on their day they're arguably the worst Premier League team we've seen. Like, it's bad out there sometimes. Like,
yeah, I know.
That after they scored the second goal, it was back to Sheffield United evolved. They just got peppered and, they'll be happy they got the point. I think they're now on 15 points.
Yeah.
Which is 14. which is still ahead of that 11 of Derby, but I don't know. They've been stinking up the gap this season. They've really ruined it for some of the battles at the bottom. Next game, this was exciting actually. Wolves 2, Fulham 1.
Yep.
Fulham in good form. Wolves, we know how much you love Gary O'Neill there. Tell you what, fair play to Wolves though, because they had no Cunha. Neto tore his hamstring again. They had Bellegarde go off injured. Dawson was out injured. They had no one there basically. A lot of nobodies in the starting 11. Yet they got over the line with a big win at home. That home crowd and home ground advantage must be the best of the Premier League right now.
Yeah, they've been excellent this whole year, and it shows again with the personnel out. Like, it just shows that with those middle teams, those lower middle teams, even pushing towards the European qualifications, like that park the bus type mentality still works.
Still works.
I don't think I'm like not in agreement that to go win a Premier League and to really push on like a Villa has, it probably isn't effective. But like sometimes you got to look at the team you are as well. Like Villa have the funds to be able to push on. But when you look at those teams like the West Hams and Wolves, some other teams as well, maybe even Everton at this current moment in time, that's what's going to suit them the best at the moment. Maybe if their owners are willing to go spend it, because to be able to now push, although you look at Villa and look at the good work that Unai's done and the good work that the whole Aston Villa board has done, they've still gone and spent 70, 80 million a year. It's not like they've gone and spent 50 1 year. Like they've spent a lot of money on a lot of players. Like even this year, just going splashing 50 on Diaby. But yeah, looking at Wolves, they've been excellent, and there's not much more to say. It's just an expectation at this current moment in time. You're like expecting Wolves to go out there and expecting it to be a hard game. No teams, as you were saying before, all three of them have to verse Wolves. Like that's tough. They're gonna sit there and they're gonna make you win. Like so they're gonna make you like have to find a way to win. They're not gonna give you anything cheap.
No.
It's gonna be really hard. And if those teams, all three of them, one of them, two of them come away with a result, it's going to be very, very narrow, right down to the dying minutes. Yeah. Just because the Wolves' mentality at the moment, well, more so the Gary O'Neill mentality. But yeah,
he's got a good balance. Like at home, I know I've been just a little bit critical of like a bit too defensive. But at home, they seem to play a little bit more progressive, and some of the goals they can get are just like pass, swing the pace, and I think the pace they play when they do counter or when they do win the ball, I think that's what the big teams will struggle with. That's why I've highlighted as this is the team that these big three, if they can win these games, it's a big like mentality jump, because you're right, they do sit in nice and compact when they have to, but when they get the ball, it's zing, 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 the ball flies past, and hopefully all the players will be fit by the time it gets to these big teams, because they're running on like academy players at the moment up front, which is quite unfortunate. But even against Fulham, like Fulham have been, we said they were yo-yo, but in the last few weeks they were on the form, they were playing some good football. Mooney is scoring goals, the back line's always good. I know, Nathan touched on Robinson, the left back, who's really good as well. They just made them look a little bit second rate, come second half. The first half probably a bit of Fulham, but I don't know how to, I can't pinpoint it other than saying Gary O'Neill at home is like the best duo right now in the Premier League. It's almost like Klopp and Anfield, it sort of feels like. They don't get beaten there. They've beaten City, beaten Newcastle there, took it to United there. Obviously, they've got Arsenal to go there. I want to see how that one goes as well. They're just a solid side. And I think another year out of Europe, obviously next year they'll probably be out of Europe, but maybe to build a squad, maybe we can see what Gary O'Neill can do in terms of maybe pushing for Europe in 2026, because if they continue doing the way they're doing, add a few like Cunha's into the midfield and defence, I'm not saying this team can't get a bit of Europa League or conference. It could be a West Ham Wolves battle for 6th spot in a few years' time, which is exciting. Yep. Final game before we get into our list for this week. Was Palace 1, Luton 1. Again, I thought quite a game.
Nothing really happened.
Palace bossed it, couldn't score. I think they hit the cross as they nearly scored from halfway, and they hit the crossbar again later on. But then Luton with basically the last kick of the game, Macaulay Woodrow heads it home. This just gives me that. I'm still holding out hope. Like fingers crossed for Luton. Like this is a team we want to get behind. This is a moment that was massive for them. You could tell they were second beat all game. They were poor mistakes, and they get that point. If you look back in 10 weeks' time, that could be the catalyst for them staying up, because Everton a bit dodgy, maybe Forest drop off a bit. This could be a moment for them to strike now. Big game in the week, Bournemouth, and they've got They got Forest soon as well, I think. So massive games for Luton coming up.
3 match weeks away or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting with Luton because I was just having a little bit of a thought yesterday speaking to someone. What's your opinions though, if they were to, let's say, somehow avoid relegation? The kick on for Luton, what does it look like? Because they don't have the funds.
Yeah.
Is it just next year the same thing?
We'll have to do some more Barkley signings, get some more like older guys that have been there and done it a few times.
Yeah.
Can you nick? Let's have a look. Maybe like a Cresswell off West Ham to get like that.
But
experience.
if you look at someone like, for example, a Leicester that's going to come
Yeah.
back up, they already got a lot of quality.
Yeah.
Even who's the
Leeds will come up as well, and probably better than them.
yeah.
You're probably right. You probably sometimes, this is what I said about Burnley, where like you might want to stick with it and get the rebound payments of going down, getting the money, getting some nice talent like Leicester have done. They've gone and just splashed the cash into some lower tier Premier League players and come up with them. That might be for the best, but for Luton and for the fans, that obviously they just want to stay up, right?
Oh, definitely.
But you're right. It's going to be like tough. Let's say like to keep Barkley, to keep Townsend, because apparently Man United are in for Barkley. That's what I'm hearing. Radcliffe likes Barkley. So as much as that sounds stupid, United will offer him triple the wages that Luton will. But if I'm Luton, I'm doing the Barkleys as well. I'm getting those guys that have just been around the Premier League, probably not first team players, and try and get them together alongside like Morris and Adebayo, and that keeper's very good. Kaminsky's very good as well, like him as well. And just put them all together and hope, pray.
Yeah.
Because the league, you're right, it gets better and better every year. So it's going to be hard for Luton, but like, I don't know, it's just small ground and that mentality. Because I don't know, like, I don't know how much you've seen of Leicester and Leeds coming up, but they look like they could do it. I don't want to say it again. I'm not a curse another team, but they look like they could do what Fulham did because they're playing like proper, like, Leicester have got Pep Guardiola's former right-hand man as the coach there now, so they're playing out the back. They play 70% possession every single game. You've got Leeds who, under Farke, used to be with at Norwich. They're playing good football as well. And it's like, and you said it, the counter-attack's working for some teams. But for Luton, how much longer can they sort of last is like the worrying sign, because each year, every team that comes up plays better and better. Even Kieran McKenna, Ipswich, former Man United assistant, they're playing like possession as well. Yeah. It's worrying for these small teams if they can get the job done, because even Palace here, their new manager, Glasner's playing some good football as well. So, I don't know. Each year, you feel like you feel like we're fading away from the counter-attack, the Sam Allardyces, but it still seems to work. So if Luton can get it done, that'll be one of the best stories of the year. And Definitely. One of the worst for Everton, though, because I think Everton then will be going down, which would be a tough time for them. All right, let's get into it. Our big segment of the week is combined title challenges 11. So basically the top three, the big boys. It's going to be a lot of Man City players because it's based on fitness as well, by the way. So a few players will miss out from Liverpool because of injury. So let's go one for one because it's the two of us here. I've gone the 4-3-3. Yeah. Normal 4-3-3. Who have you got in
Alisson.
goal?
Alisson's injured. Oh, this is where I've stuffed up.
I caught him off guard. Who have you got then?
Raya.
You got Raya?
Yeah.
Right, there's an Arsenal player. Why Raya? Because I went Edison.
I just not the biggest fan of Edison.
Yeah.
I've been like this. Like I don't really like Raya that much either.
Yeah, Basada. Yeah.
If I'm gonna be honest, like I would put Alisson well. Like Alisson is so 5-6 levels above both of them. Like Raya, I don't think he's an exceptional keeper. He's quite good with both of them. Good. Actually, Raya and Edison are very similar keepers in my opinion. They're both really, really good on the ball. Yeah. Excellent on the ball. Can ping those 60, 70-yard passes. Yeah. They both save the shots they're supposed to save. Yeah. And when you look at an Arsenal, that's probably all you have to do because of the strong defence. Yeah. But it's probably been a little bit of an issue lately for City. Yeah. Because City don't seem to have, whether that's because of how many people they're pushing forward and Stones joining in the midfield and it's only 3 in defence on the counter-attack, sometimes only 2, and they can't really afford to be in that situation. And then Edison's getting targeted more. But I think they're very similar, Raya and Edison, in terms of they don't seem to be able to pull off those exceptional saves. And when that Alisson can pull off, and some other keepers in the league can pull off. Yeah. But I suppose for the teams they're in, like in terms of their ball playing, they're probably the two best ball playing
Probably.
goalkeepers.
Yeah.
So, but I've just flicked Ray ahead.
Just like him tiny bit more than
just not liking Edison. It's probably more of a taste thing for me.
I was thinking that's the same with me, I think. I was with Edison just because I've seen him sort of, at least he's one, I know it means nothing, but I feel like he's just in winning teams. I know he makes them, not howlers, just doesn't make the saveable saves, but I think the same thing here with Raya. Like, I always thought he was a better shot stopper than I actually thought, but maybe the whole big club thing, it's a bit too adjusted because he would have faced, 15 shots a game last year. Now he faces sort of 5, 6 on target max, but it just feels like he doesn't make those saves he sometimes can make, what we saw last year.
Yeah.
So I've just put Edison in because he's sort of been amongst that City team. But again, Alisson walks into any team. These
I had a complete mind blank.
Even him being injured, maybe he gets in because he's probably better than these two injured. But yeah, we're split already on the keeper. Left back.
Okay.
Okay, right.
Well, I don't like Arsenal's fullbacks.
Yeah.
And Robertson was like benched yesterday.
Yeah, fair.
So I was like, I didn't feel like I wanted to go with Robbo just because I would usually go with Robbo in this situation, but he was benched.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I was like, is he like really like... you can't put him in when he's getting benched against City.
I think the fit... Well, I've got...
Yeah, I know, but that's a fitness thing as well. Like, then it goes back to the thing of you have to have them available.
Yeah.
So I've gone with Ake because
Ake.
I think he's the strongest of the three teams. He's been very good down the left this season.
Yeah.
Like, not many, obviously, he's a lot more defensive minded, but I think that's very much the same when you look at like Q or whatever his name is at Arsenal.
Yeah, definitely. I went Robbo. I just think in terms of a left back, he's got everything you want. Me and Nate touched on it when we did our left back list on the Wedweek show. There's not a flaw in his game, I feel like. There's no he's not the best at anything, or probably not the best at anything, but he's very good, top 5 in almost every area. Yeah. I think people sleep on his attacking output.
Oh, definitely.
He's still top 2 in the Premier League in terms of assist numbers with Trent, and he'll always be behind Trent's shadow because Trent's just one of a kind in that way, but he's great going that way. Obviously very solid defensive. He's lost that pace to close down and make up space, but he used to be very good at making up ground when he used to bomb on. He's still more of that bomb on traditional fullback. I just think his resume and his form, that one game he played the full game when he came back was great. In the Carabao Cup final was great as well. Obviously he was benched yesterday, I think partly because of fitness.
Definitely, but
it's a toss
I considered that when we're making the
I just think it's still one of the best.
I fit Robbo is always going to be in this list, well ahead of anyone else.
Yeah, definitely. He's just a really ridiculous player.
So centre backs now.
Who's your partnership?
So my partnership doesn't include someone I really wanted to include. So I've got Saliba and Van Dijk.
Okay, okay, cool.
Which I think everyone has.
Yeah.
But
who did you want to include?
Stones.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, okay.
I think he's definitely... I don't think... Put it this way. Like, when we're talking about, there's a big drop-off from Alisson to the keepers, and there's a big drop-off maybe even when Robbo's fit to the other fullbacks. Obviously, both of them aren't at full fitness at the moment. But I don't think there's a big drop-off in this position. No. In centre-backs, there's 5 or 6 of them. Yeah. Even looking at Gabriel... Diaz. I don't think there's a big difference. No. Diaz, there's a lot of different people I think that you can chuck down. It wouldn't make too much of a difference. I think the two standouts are Van Dijk and Saliba.
This season especially.
Yeah, this season. I think Saliba's now made a name for himself.
Yeah.
Which is, he went last year and he was obviously quality, but he's continued on that form, continued on patrolling the box, patrolling the whole Arsenal defence.
Yeah.
So, I think them two, and Van Dijk is just... back to Van Dijk. You even saw that one-on-one versus Haaland. I feel like 18 months ago, Haaland scores that. Yeah. Whether that's because Haaland was in a bit better form, but also the fact that Van Dijk, he's just... If you just watch how he defended, it reminded me of how he's defending in 19. Yeah. He's just waiting and he's dropping back, giving him a bit of space, waiting for that Haaland touch and bang, he's straight across him.
Yeah.
Whereas he seemed to have been prior... jumping in a bit early. It seemed to be I don't know why that was exactly, but it seemed like he was jumping in and getting, and then someone would just skip past him. Maybe going back 18 months ago, a year ago. More specifically last year, but now he's seeming to just hold off, and that's what he was like. That's how he made a name for himself. It was not getting dribbled past, and you don't not get dribbled past by jumping into challenges. You're always going to get dribbled past if you jump into challenges.
I think, he's been massive. And at the start of the year, I was really big, and this could be his year, and jumping back. And that last night, yeah, that's right. I think last night, well, everyone loved the moment, but I think last night proved to me, and it proved to the world what he's been doing throughout the season. Yeah, people were partially him early on because you're still getting, everyone gets the grips in the new season. Everyone's a bit slower to start the season off. But I think that connection between him and the holders, whether it be McAllister and Endo, that core, even Canate, I think he's someone that could be slept on a bit as well in these centre-back pairings. They're just so hard to get past. Liverpool's core, like the DMs, the 68 and the centre halves have been so hard to get past this season. And look at that Carabao Cup final. He obviously scores a goal, but I don't remember him getting past once. No one got past him once. Last night, there was many times who comes across the stop. It's always Van Dijk. It's just, whenever you think you're through on goal, Van Dijk's there just to make it happen. Even that United game, we had a few counter-attacks. Alisson was there a few times, but Van Dijk was always there to, usher someone to a corner. And you're right. Sometimes he doesn't have to even tackle. He just has to be there and just sort of force them wide. And that Haaland last night, he just backed off, looked over his shoulder, forced him. He was trying to force him on his right. He ended up getting his left foot because it's Haaland. But still, little nudge, miss the target. Like, he'll go down as one of the top 4, top 5 Premier League defenders when he's done. Oh, if he wins another title, he could be up there in like the discussion as the Premier League best ever combination. But yeah, what a player. And Saliba speaks for himself. He's probably the best centre back right now in the Premier League. So we agree on there. Right back.
Walker.
Yeah, Walker, yeah.
Yeah, we spoke about Walker last week.
Yeah.
And I think everything we said is just...
He's a ridiculous player.
Yeah. You can't... Good. Even with Trent there, I probably would have still put Walker.
I might have gone Trent, but... Walker probably got an as
it just
the
depends
best.
what you want as a team, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah. I like my Trent. You don't. You
yeah,
like you sort of
it just depends. I'm more of that
defend.
Yeah. Defend at all costs. Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
That's like your number one priority. Yeah. Obviously, in today's
Walker can still go forward though.
Yeah, obviously in today's game, you have to have that ability to attack and put those beautiful balls into the box, whipping them into your strikers and stuff. But I still think that's your first and foremost.
Defend first and do whatever you want to do next.
Yeah, exactly.
Alrighty, now midfielders.
Yeah. Do you want me to list all three?
Just do 3 at a time, yeah.
So I've gone Rodri, McAllister, KDB.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I like that.
So my thought process with Rodri, it was either Rodri or Rice.
Yeah, obviously.
So I didn't want to put both in. I know some people might go, Rodri and Rice are the 2 best midfielders.
Yeah, makes sense.
So I'll put them both in. But then looking at what McAllister's done this year, I think I know he drops back and he plays as that lot, but he doesn't really. He really plays as more that box to box.
Yeah, he's an 8. Yeah.
And if I'm going to go a traditional 4-3-3, I've got to play with the 6, 8 and 10.
Yeah.
And in the 8 position, McAllister's just probably the best 8 right now in the league.
I think he is, yeah. He's a gun.
So I think that speaks for ourselves. And then KDB is just KDB. Like, obviously, you got the shouts for Odegaard. I think if you put Odegaard's form from last year and KDB had just come back from injury, I may have put Odegaard into this team just like based on the fact that what Odegaard did. But KDB's like come back in and got more goal contributions than Odegaard's got all season playing like 6 games. So I don't think there's really much of a debate there.
Yeah. So I went, and this is strange because you know how much I love McAllister. He's my number 1 player I love at the moment. So I went Rodri, Odegaard, and then De Bruyne. Partly because obviously Rodri is the best 6 we've seen in times. Yeah. He can cover well. We know what Odegaard can work in the 8. He's basically plays it sometimes at Arsenal team when they had to play a bit more defensive in the past. Again, this season is being good without being great, which is a fair point, and that's why I always had De Bruyne in first, and I think he'll always be first, no matter what you do. For me, it's him and Salah's league over the last sort of 6 years. They've dominated it. So I don't care how injured or how unfit he is. He's always going to be in this team. We know he does. We know what Rodri does. My reason for going Odegaard is he's still a great creator and I feel like if he's not, forced to the edge of the area, I think deeper, sort of like how Bruno Fernandes is. I think when he can see the pitch more, he's be really good. So in a team where you might have Rodri behind you, I think in like an 8 position, he still works really well defensively, he can still make a good tackle. I think you'd actually see the best of Odegaard there. But because obviously he's still number 10 and because of the way Arsenal play, you get stuck on the edge of the area. And I think he's still good in tight areas, but I feel like his passing array will be better if he's further back in the field.
Yeah. I think it definitely depends. So, like, if we look at the team, if you look in this specific team, if you're going to have the likes of, like, Walker and Ake at the back, as your fullback
Covering, yeah.
and Rodri, then yeah, definitely you could play with that attacking number 8. But if you were to have the likes of like Trent, maybe Robbo pushing on, maybe Zinchenko for argument's sake, and they're pushing on, and you just got Rodri, then you'd probably more consider the McAllister.
Yeah.
But I definitely think it's like obviously it's still
You're picking two guns
with the caliber of players in this squad. Obviously, everything would work.
Everything's gonna work
I
out.
could go play 8.
Drop me in at number 9. I'll just type a few in the back of the net. All right, front three. What's your front three looking like?
Salah.
Yep.
Haaland.
Yep. Who's in your
Foden.
Yeah, same. Yeah, we're the same.
So
thing.
I wanted to put Saka in because what Saka's done this year has been exceptional.
Remarkable.
Like in terms of his output, and he's not really just had an output season either.
Nah.
Like last year, I'd say was more of it. He like stamped his authority on the league, but it was purely because of his goals and assists.
Yeah.
Whereas now, like as we were talking before about Haaland, whether he scores scores basically, like that's all that really matters for him. It doesn't it's not necessarily like that for Saka.
Yeah.
And he's been exceptional. I think he's had like 30 goal contributions in all comps this season. Like exceptional, but yeah, you can't go past Salah.
Yeah.
And then Foden's in his career best form. And if you look at the left wingers in all the squads, that's probably their weakest of the two wingers.
Yeah.
Every single team has the stronger of the right wing.
On the right, yeah.
So
it's tough. And like, even if I had to push like Salah out left or Saka out left, I feel like you can't ignore what Foden's done this year. Arguably, his has been more impressive because of the players he's behind and because of the players he had to fill in for. He had to play the left, the right.
And Foden's actually played on the left as well.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Whereas Saka's not really on the left.
You know how I can fit players in these teams,
know.
but like I feel like you just can't not put Foden in. Like, well, obviously when the season's done, to talk about the Euros, but South has got a bit of a problem because he's got a lot of good young wingers / 10s. He's going to fit in the same team.
Saka and Foden.
It's going to be, but he's going to have to drop some of his, his star boys.
Who was I watching? I was watching one of the talk shows, and they were saying, and one of the pundits said to put Kane at 10 and Watkins at striker with Foden on the left
where's
and
Bellingham
Saka
gonna
on
play?
the right, and then Bellingham and Rice.
Nah, it's ridiculous. That's maybe if you're like
I don't think
maybe if you're going to Slovenia,
I think Watkins is going to be amazing for the last 30 minutes, and you're sometimes just going to have to sub Harry Kane.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, like when you got that caliber on the bench, but yeah, you got to play Bellingham at the 10. Like you got that front four with Saka,
Well, I think you're playing
Foden,
Bellingham.
Kane, Bellingham, like behind him, Rice, and whoever plays next to him,
Henderson.
Kobe.
I think actually might go. I've been like when we
He'll go. He's not going to start though.
Public pressure will talk.
If he played for Spain, he'd start.
Yeah, it's the thing.
Okay,
Where they trust
but
him.
he plays for Southgate. Okay.
The thing is though, who would you play?
Oh, Manu.
No, but taking away Manu, if you're Antonio, but in Southgate's mind, would you play like a Ward-Prowse? Would you play like?
Yeah, you'd have to. But the problem is, it just deflates the rest of the team because you're playing Bellingham at that. If I'm going to be honest, I'm playing Bellingham at 8.
And playing like an out-and-out, like Madison at 10.
Madison at 10.
I still reckon Madison needs to get a gig somehow. Somehow fit him in.
Well, then Bellingham, I know he's playing 10 for City.
But he can't not play Bellingham at the 10.
Yeah,
How
but
many
Bellingham
goals
is
he's
a box-to-box.
I know he is, but have you seen what he's done this year? He's massive. You say he's got stronger. He's basically a striker. He can head the ball. We saw the goal he scored after the full-time whistle last time. He gets in the... He's a fox in the box.
But then you have to play Manu because I don't think...
I think you have to play Manu.
You can't play... Ward-Prowse is going... Okay, if you're Southgate, you're playing probably Ward-Prowse or Hendo.
Yeah.
Because you love that defensiveness and everything.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to play them too, be defensive and like so on. But if you want to like play a bit more attacking, you got to play Manu or Bellingham at the 8. Because then Manu, you can go in and attack. And I think Manu's that good like double-edged sword as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think like he's definitely probably the best at the moment at like that
both ways.
English player at the moment, I should say, both ways.
Yeah.
Like
Carries the ball.
You've seen it. Like he's played as a solo number 6 for United, but then he's also like look what he did against Wolves. And there's been some other games where he's so me and you would play him, and a lot of managers would play him.
Southgate? No.
Yeah, but yeah, Southgate. Yeah, it's like have you seen all those memes? Southgate watching the United City game, Foden 2 goals. Hey Hendo, how you going?
goes to watch one game in Saudi, one game in Ajax, and then bang, he's straight in. All right, so it's very similar team. So I'll go over mine and you go over yours one more time. I had Edison, Andy Robertson, Saliba, Van Dijk, Walker, Rodri, Erdegaard, and De Bruyne, and then Foden, Haaland, and Salah.
Yeah, so I had Raya.
Yep.
Ake.
Yep.
Saliba and KDB. Sorry, come.
VVD. KDB's enough.
Oh, I've had a mare there. VVD. Then Walker at right back.
Yep.
Rodri with McAllister just in front. And at the point of the triangle, we got KDB. And then on the right, Salah, Haaland up top. And on the left, cutting in Foden.
That team wins every single trophy possible. That would be a ridiculous thing. I think you add Foden to any team right now. I think he makes every team better. He's in that,
definitely.
He's in that form right now. He's just ridiculous. Speaking about top teams, Arsenal. Obviously, I did a video on this earlier in the weekend, so I've had my sort of piece about it. I tell you what, Kai Havertz.
Yeah,
Chelsea will be kicking us off. Quick before we get into it, Kai Havertz scored in the weekend, a winner. Pulisic scored a winner on the weekend, and so did another Chelsea player scored a winner. But basically, every Chelsea player that's left on the weekend scored goals.
Yeah.
Well, the curse continues.
Yeah, well, looking at Kai Havertz, like, obviously he started off a little bit shaky, we would say.
Yeah.
Like, looked a bit nervous, lacking of confidence, but now 8 Premier League goals, playing, like, as that false-ish, like,
almost like a false nine. Yeah,
position. You'd say that's more than they expected of him. Like, if he finishes the season with 11, 12 goals, that's more than what Jesus scored last year. And then you've still got the likes of, obviously, they've got good bench options, like the Trossards and stuff that are coming in. That he's not actually playing every minute. So for him to have 8 goals at this moment in time is pretty good, I'd say. He's exceeded all expectations. And I'd say, that 60, 70 million price tag is looking not so bad now.
Yeah. Fair play to Mikel Arteta. He stuck with him. At the start of the season, we were like, why is he playing him in DM? He was almost like he's like an 8, but he was playing next to the 6, and then he ended up playing down the middle, then little bit at the wide, and then end up now in the false 9. Well, I reckon right now he's their best option down the middle.
Definitely.
Because Gabriel Jesus, I don't think, especially coming to the back end of the season versus the Wolves and versus these big clubs, you want someone who can nod the ball home as well. And I feel like Havertz with his size, bit of pace, his good feet, I feel like he just fits it to a
Well, that's where he played at
Chelsea.
At Chelsea.
Yeah.
And like, that's where his main position went at Bayer
Leverkusen as well, exactly, yeah.
Like, he was exceptional. That was why he got such a big price tag
Big move.
to Chelsea. And then, at Chelsea, he probably wasn't as good as he was at Leverkusen. But he's still, that's his, like, preferred position. I don't think he's really that, like, number 8. He could play as, like, I think the 10, but obviously you got Erdegaard there. So you're not going to, like, move away from that. So I wouldn't drop him too far to the 8, no way.
Yeah, I think the start of the season I'm a bit confused what was going on there, but obviously he's worked out.
Yeah, another 3 points, 8 on the trot.
8 in the bounce.
Yeah, not much else to say. We'll see how these last 10 weeks present themselves.
We're going to each week's going to have to chat. We're bipolar. 1 week will be Arsenal, 1 week will be Liverpool, 1 week will be City.
Well, it's been a long time now we've been on Arsenal's train. I have.
Well, you and Flynn have, obviously Flynn's going to be, but I guess you're the me or me are supposed to be the impartial ones, but I think I've been riding the Liverpool thing since the start because I was backing them early on. I do appreciate that Arsenal, that was a big win for me. I said it in my video. The Wolves game, this one, and the Bournemouth game, though, they're going to tell me, are they title ready? Because when teams aren't going to just, flush up the pitch and, back and forth, have they got it to, break through the lines? Remember those 3 games where they drew a few and lost a few?
Oh, you're saying
in the middle of the season, when they lost to Villa and then they drew, I think, a few on the bounce, and they're struggling because they couldn't break down, they couldn't play slow. They couldn't break down team in their back line. That's why I kept saying, obviously, they're not going to score 6 every game, but I think they need to score these goals to win the title because when it gets tight, when the pressure builds, I think they get overwhelmed. I said in my video, they play with so much emotion, but it might be too much emotion. Because, Klopp does these ones at the end of the game, but when you're on the pitch, it's focus. It's, get the job done. Same with City, like robots. They just get the job done. But with Arsenal, every single shot's like, this, that, and the other. If they just calmed it down a bit, can play against a low block, that convinced me they can go win this title.
Yep,
but we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, Brentford did well to make a fair fist of that, but didn't go over the line in the end. Now, probably the most exciting game, we finally got to it, was Spurs 4, Villa 0.
Yeah, so I want to touch on this game quickly because I watched it. And the first half was just nothing. Like, the game didn't exist. I'm pretty sure Tottenham didn't have a shot in the first half.
1 shot, none on target. Villa had 5
shots and Villa were probably on top, although it didn't look like any team was on top.
No.
And then, coming out of the gates in the second half, Tottenham, they're just like
Handball's back.
yeah, they're just like a bunch of greyhounds running out. Like
She was.
running straight out the gates. Like I don't even know what happened. Like any like mistake that Villa made, you saw with the second goal, swept straight upon it, put away their chances, and then like when they were 2-0 down, and you got that challenge. Like I don't even know what that challenge was. Like you can't argue that or anything. He has fully cleaned both his legs up, nowhere near the ball, and like from under him as well. That's a clear and obvious red card every day of the week.
You can't argue that. I think it was just McGinn's normally like as far as a Scottish guy goes, like quite controlled, but that was just I think it was rage because they were getting. I said the first half though, I came down watched with Dad a little bit, and I was like, this is like a rugby match. They were just snapping everyone. Everyone was sliding in. Like your doggy got cleaned up, and then Romero cleaned up Watkins, and Watkins cleaned up Romero. And I'm like, obviously it was a bit wet, but I was like, damn, they must just like hate each other because you're right. The first half had nothing. It was just midfielder just snap each other like into tackle. Basuma and Saar, we know what they do. They get in there a bit. Even Madison was getting in there. Douglas Luiz making some. There was some dodgy challenges going in there with that. If they don't get the ball, you're like yellow. You know, these days with Reds and stuff like that. Yeah. But it was about time something was going to happen. And again, it's after going 2-0 down and getting dominated, I feel like the start of that second half, I think McGinn just said, nah, stuff this. And just snapped him.
Very convincing from Tottenham, not so convincing from Villa, I think.
I feel like this, I'm going to touch on this at the start. It was one of my things I was tossing up with what I learned from the weekend is the Europa League and Conference League stuff. You see the impact it has. West Ham were poor first half. Villa were poor 90 minutes. Because Villa are fielding a really strong team in the conference. They obviously got Ajax, so you have to field a strong team, but still, they're taking that and the Premier League at once very seriously. And you saw at the start, they were just sluggish. Watkins looked slow. Yeah. Bailey looked slow. The centre halves, Consta looked rubbish.
I think they've got the ability to do it though, because it's going to be a top 5 in Champions League, and like I think they're just like, okay, let's just finish 5th this year. Yeah, and although I think they've got a little bit of a threat coming from United. I don't know.
I think they'll be fine.
I don't think at this point in the season, there's much of a threat. Nah. I'd say it's there. It's lingering. Yeah. But maybe in 5 match weeks, it might be a different story. But at this current moment in time, a lot would have to go wrong and a lot would have to go right for United for it to happen. Like, we'd probably have to be talking about United have to win, I'd say 7 or 8 of their last 10.
And not lose one. Though. I don't think you could lose.
Draw 1 or 2 as well. Yeah. And Villa's probably can only win 5.
I think Villa will be fine in that regard. It's just going to be hard against the big boys like Cities and Liverpool's and Arsenal when they all play them. If they're going to keep backing up, if they're going to keep fielding this like starting 11 in the Europa League, Conference League, because fair play, go after it. But you see the effects in this game here where Tottenham, no Conference League, no nothing. They were fresh. Straight out the gate, second half. They got the kick up the backside. I'm sure Villa did as well, but they just didn't have the legs to go with them. And that's fair enough. You can't be harsh on them in that because they've got a deep squad, but it's not like a Man City type squad where you can field a whole different starting 11 because everyone that basically played Thursday night. So I'm not being too critical in Villa in this game here. I'm not going to overreact, but I think the reaction has to come for Tottenham, which was impressive because last few weeks, I think we can all agree, Tottenham have been a bit... hit and miss a bit. Down, They got late winners versus Crystal Palace, scored 3 goals in like 10 minutes after they scored. But this was finally Tottenham are back to that start of the season type form. So interesting to see how they can kick on. Obviously not going to be the top 3, but could they knock in that 4th spot? Next game, another dead one. Brighton beat Forest 1-0. The only thing I'll say is Brighton won. That's all I've got to say. I actually tried to watch it. I
didn't get a look into this one.
It was a bit of a bore fest. Our penultimate game, West Ham 2, Burnley 2. Again, another 2-2 for the bottom 2 sides. Again, Burnley 2-0 up. Yeah. West Ham were poor first half, and then they instantly go and concede 30 seconds in the second half. Like, if you're Vincent Kompany, you're thinking, what can I do? Like, I think he's maxed them out. I just think it's not a good enough squad. Like, it's just simple things. Half ball, Paqueta just beats the centre-back to it, and he's through on goal. 30 seconds in the second half.
Yeah, although, like, me and Flynn have made many jokes about us being the casuals on the couch. Yeah. Like, the fact that neither of us knew any of their players really coming into the season says a lot because although, we might not be looking so closely into the championship and so closely into every single league in the world, like, we still have enough depth of knowledge to know of. Yeah. Whether we know them well, what they do, no. But, like, I'm talking about a lot of these players. Where now I obviously know of them, but they're players I hadn't even heard of before.
Yeah,
and
that's fair.
That's a big telling, I would say.
Yeah. Where I will all compare them to Fulham when they came up, but Fulham had signed Japaling and had Mitrovic.
Yeah.
They had the signed Willian, they had Wilsons and all that come through, you know. So you
even Tom Kearney, who we know is like experienced player who's been one of those players that's always been too good for the championship.
Exactly. I think just with Burnley, it's just they went too far in one direction. They could have done a bit of looting and brought a bit of experience to help the young guys out because there's too many young guys. The Fofana, the Chelsea loaner, he's been very good for them. Another good goal. That was a belting finish. Obviously, Paqueta got the goal just after half-time. Then Danny Ings could have had 3. Hit the crossbar, offside, and then obviously score one as well. West Ham are a second-half FC at the moment. They just feel like last time at Everton, they won 3-1 after half-time. Yeah. This one here, they looked amazing after half-time. Booze at half-time for David Moyes, which I think is still harsh, even though I think they should progress eventually. But I think it's so harsh, the fans, how they're treating David Moyes.
It's hard. I don't know if they have the funds to progress. It's going back onto my topic from before.
Yeah.
Like, although I think they can make some smart investments and definitely the change of football, but like you have to understand it from a fan's point of view, a club point of view. Are you willing to take that step back a couple years? Because I don't think it's a 1 year thing. It's at least probably 2 years where you're going to have to probably start going around that 12th to 15th position. Maybe even could be lingering with relegation to get, because you have to, these players now have been playing like this for a really long time. They've got their game.
It's locked in their mind.
Yeah, their system. Yeah. And they're players that are kind of suited to that system. So you've got to go find a couple new players, spend some money, change your game plan, taking a big risk because you don't know if that's not going to work. And then it goes, it could just be like that, relegated from being a top 10 team. So
yeah, I think it's really harsh on Moyes, and I haven't been his biggest supporter, but I appreciate what he does. I said it on the midweek show last week. I think it's too harsh what the fans are asking of him because, like I just said, they're in Europa League. They're trying to qualify for the league for Europa League as well. Last year, remember, they were in a relegation battle, but they won the trophy. That's the only reason they're in Europe. They were 17th come the turn of December, the new year. So they've got to appreciate this is a progression from last year because they're in a knockout stage and they're 6th as well, 7th in the Premier League. So appreciate that. And sometimes you're right. Maybe you have to grind out the next few years and slowly bleed in some new talent to help out. But you're right. If you're going to try this whole new style, which I would like for them, you might have to change the manager. And that doesn't always work. We've seen it for many clubs. As United fans, we know it. You change your managers and fix
It's definitely tough. And you have to understand as well at West Ham at the moment, you talk about second half FC, but they're in Europe.
Exactly, yeah.
At the moment, they're fielding a very similar team. We saw the difference between when I think it was Paqueta and Kudus were out. That was a huge difference for that 4 or 5 week period where I think they struggled to get any points on the back. So now they're expecting them to play every single game back to back to back, and it's hard. I think they've got to take this season as a huge positive and try and bring not necessarily those first, maybe like you were saying, maybe bring that striker in to put ball back on the right, because then that allows maybe the Paqueta and Kudus, maybe some games they can both play on the left when you want to rest one of them, and then you've got a lot more flexibility because it looks like whether they're going to be in the Europa League or the Conference League next year, they're going to be in Europe. Yeah, so they're going to have 2 leagues again.
Yeah. And you have to get that squad bigger and bigger and bigger, and that takes time to do that because you're playing. They had Ward Prowse on the left at some point last night. Yeah, they've had Spencer Johnson, who's that academy guy who's not very good. They've had Antonio up front at times. Get a striker in, get ball out to the flank, maybe get another centre back. Because Mavropanos is a bit
shaky, definitely to say the least.
Shaky's a nice word for him. Shaky. Zuma's getting older. Yeah, maybe a centre back, maybe a right back, and then maybe a striker, and that's just squad depth, right? And then you can just go from there and grow. But I think as much as I haven't been super kind on Moyes, I think that the fans are too critical in what he's doing. I think he's doing a great job this year. That brings to the final game. Obviously, we're touching it a fair bit, but we'll wrap it up here in fully. Classic Pep and Klopp. Shake hands, 1-0, walk out of there.
Yeah.
They love a draw.
I think if you look at it, Liverpool were better in the second half. Yeah. I think City were better in the first half. I think it was a fair result. I think it was fair because you look at some weird stuff could have happened in that game, like that Foden goal. He smashed it onto his chest, then hit the crossbar.
I don't know what Kelleher was doing.
Yeah, so some weird stuff. I think the main talking point though from this game was that a penalty?
I'm saying pen.
I don't know. I'm gonna be right now. If that was a United game,
I'd be up in arms.
I'd be up in arms, and I'd be like
Abusing
Mick
people.
Sapazi right now,
Yeah.
screaming,
Yeah.
carrying on. We should have won that game. And don't get me wrong, like I think he definitely deserves to be in that. Like all the Liverpool fans definitely deserve that. I just don't know. If I'm looking at it from externally, he still hit the ball, and I know he's gone studs up, but he hasn't really hit him. It's been like a brush.
Yeah.
So I think that definitely, put it this way, I think it's one of those decisions that we touch back on, that whatever the referee on field called stays.
Yeah.
So I think if he called that a penalty, would have gone. I would have accepted that that's a penalty, and I wouldn't have had any problems. But yeah. For all the people that like have been calling me biased and Liverpool haters in the recent past, I definitely understand where you're coming from, because if that was a United game, I definitely would be going up in arms and be blindsided to the point where I would be saying 100% that's penalty. I'm just looking at it and I'm like, I can't actually pull out of this a definitive answer from it.
Yes, that's the thing. I can understand both sides. That's the
I
thing.
can't pull out a definitive answer, so I actually don't know. I'm actually just happy to say whatever the on-field referee called in that situation, stick with it. And I'm happy they stuck with it, is the best way I would say.
Yes.
I don't think it was a big enough to overturn.
It's the positioning, because in recent weeks we've seen a few dodgy challenges where it's all about being uncontrolled. And that's the thing for me, where I come from. I think he was never in control of that challenge. That was always... Yeah, he got the ball. Yeah, I know he nicked the ball. He nicked the shirt and he nicked the ball. I don't think he got the ball. Okay,
but this goes back, and I want to touch on this. And this goes back on it. You're the penalty, not the penalty, the penalty call United versus City. Yeah. So Edison's got the ball. But I've seen in recent times when you go studs up into that challenge, 2 foot like Edison's done, and cleaned up the player, is that not a similar... So he's cleaned up the player, and... I don't think you can go studs up no matter if you get the ball. So is that not a similar type of thing?
I'd been in a similar boat, but I think that Edison got the ball. This was Doku nicking the ball, if you know what I mean? Like he got a piece of it, got the piece of it.
But also, if you look at but then you can bring other factors in as well. So you can bring in the pace of it. So Edison's gone full charge ahead. Whereas that's more like he's done like... He's more like
the ball was
out.
The ball was bouncing. He could have allowed it to sit there and then defend it. He's gone up there.
I'm not disagreeing.
Yeah.
If I was Pep, I'd be going off after that, because you never put yourself in that situation.
Why are you doing that?
Yeah, definitely. But I'm just not like sure. I think if that's a penalty, it's a penalty. But I can't definitively say I can't definitively say that's a bad VAR error.
Okay, I'm not saying it's a bad. I just think I would have given it pen. And the fact that it's the last kick of the game, it's top of the tap. Obviously, it's
that's also you can't say the EPL didn't want to draw out of that game either to make it 1 point from the top 3. Like
it's just unfortunate, because the game was great. I think the way I looked at it, Liverpool probably were the better team the first 10 minutes.
Yeah,
I think City won the next 35 minutes to half time, or 30 minutes. The last 5 minutes probably went to Liverpool again. Then the second half, Liverpool were good. The next 10 minutes, Man City were good. But then the last 30 minutes, Liverpool were like on it.
Yeah, definitely.
I know you're going to get annoyed at home listening, but me and Nathan talk every week. But Endo and McAllister, actually, you guys laughed at me the other week. I said these two together could forget the rest of the team. If you need to win a title, it needs to be tight. These guys could go and do it for you. Like you saw what McAllister nearly won on the second penalty, but converted the first. Endo just wow, like he's not good money. He's not a fancy name. But he's just into challenges. He makes it. I remember Foden was trying to run through, smack straight through him, gets the ball, gets the play going. I'm swear the bloke wears a mouth guard when he plays as well. He wears something. He's just an aggressive player that any team would love him. I don't think you'd be lying if you didn't say you loved him. He's not like the Rodri, crazy on the ball, but he just gets in the challenges. He gets in there, wins the ball back. Massive for that back line. That's why I say that core of Liverpool, Konate, Van Dijk, and then McAllister and Endo. I think right now, in terms of form-wise, that core, that structure, it's up there with Arsenal. Because obviously Arsenal's, everyone's just touched on being the best, but it's not too far away, this core here. And I think that was the reason they got the draw in many regards.
Definitely a steal from Liverpool there, like 18 million for him, like ridiculous. Amazing.
I think this game, De Bruyne got dragged. Obviously, there was a bit of kerfuffle with that all going on, but it goes to show, though, that these three midfields in the league are very close. In the past, City's midfield would always walk, because against Henderson and Fabinho, they'd walk over Liverpool's midfield. But this game here, I maybe in my eyes, but I think Liverpool's midfield won the battle. And, you always say it. You're the man who stands by it. Midfield battles win games.
Definitely.
And they could have won in that game there, I think, if all things went that way.
That was my biggest fear going into the season. Like, they brought in 18 million Endo, who's 30 years old, not an upcoming talent or anything like that. So it was just like, can Liverpool match it with the rest of the midfielders? And like, my answer at the start of the season was no, but obviously that has to change.
Over time it's come through, and then one thing I want to touch on quickly, Darwin Núñez, and we talk about like what Haaland does, but this is the two different things with strike. That's why I love Darwin, right? Chases a ball that, it was a crap pass, but most players don't get there, but he gets there before Edison wins the penalty. He had one of those games again, and it was just a nearly sort of game, but boy, you just love to have that guy on your team as well. Like, to create that penalty out of sort of nothing. Again, they were sort of average that point in the game, gets the goals, get them back on top of the game. I think that was just massive for them. And it just goes to show the two different types of strikers, both are amazing in what they do, but Núñez chasing down like lost balls, getting smacked by the post, trying to slide in for a challenge.
Yeah, well, that's 2 weeks in a row now that Edison's like
gone for the big slide.
Gone through, like, I think that's why you got to put Raya in your team.
It's tough though. With that Man City back line,
it's a bit shaky.
You have to be an edge it all the time. Massive for the league though. There we go. 1 point separates them.
Exactly.
So right now it's goal difference that separates.
Yeah, so 46 to 39.
Yeah, so Arsenal now will basically have it on goal difference if it all goes that way. But it's about who can hold on, who can hold their bottle the latest. You still got City though, haven't you?
Yeah, but
still at this point.
A lot
less so
now. I'm not as convinced as I was.
Don't say your order of the ladder, but just say your order of most likely to win it. You reckon, like, just do like that way? Because there's going to be different ladder to order of, I think, chance of winning it.
City, Arsenal, Liverpool. And I'm going to tell you right now, like, the gap between all three of them.
1%.
Yeah, it's like, I want to go Arsenal just because of their form at the moment.
Yeah.
But then you got other factors. So bringing it all in, I don't even know, because then you got other factors such as City's been there, done it for the last 6 years. Klopp's done this before, and usually when Klopp is close to winning a title, he's gonna go the whole way.
Yeah,
it's just whether he can do it on the final day or not. So, and then Arsenal's they're in the best form. However, you saw what they did last year. They've got lots of inexperience. So who knows? Yeah,
we'll do it every week. We'll update our power rankings. So I'm gonna go Liverpool, then I'll go City, and then I'll go Arsenal. Okay. City are very close. I was very happy with what Liverpool did last night. I'm still on the Liverpool bandwagon. You know what? I could become a hero come the end of the season. I could be a villain after backing them all year long. Yeah. All right, winners and losers, finish off. Might have sort of said throughout the episode, but my winner was Arsenal because they won. The other two teams drew. They're now top. Mentality-wise, like at the bottom of the table, I always say it. When you see yourself on the table above, you feel better about yourself, right? And they've been trailing for a little bit now, not because they've been bad, but because Liverpool have just been so consistent. Finally back seeing themselves top. That's got to feel good. They won the Saturday fixture. It's so important if you're playing Saturday and the other teams are playing Sunday to get the result, because then you're relaxed, right? If you get a draw, shaky bum Tom on Sunday watching other teams play. So they're my winners. And my losers are the bottom two, who both led 2-0 and then both bottled 2-0 leads.
So you stole my winner off the tip of my tongue. Yeah. So I'll go straight to my losers. Yeah. And my losers are Villa.
Yeah, true. Just massive loss.
I just think they came out that first half, and I think they played how they kind of wanted to play. They seemed a little bit tired. They wanted to play that game, but it's just like they let Tottenham out the gates with mistakes and stuff. And don't get me wrong, they're in a very good position. Yep. But in that position they are in, they're not like the title challenges where if you have an 8-point gap, like they're not going to drop 8 points probably, let alone the whole season. Rest of the 10 games. Like, you never know. They could drop. So it's still, I would say it's still in. Like,
it could be on.
Yeah, it's still on. So you don't really know. Like, they're still 8 points ahead. So it's huge. But you don't know what could happen really.
Yeah. Tired legs, inexperience this part of the season. That would be a massive. I reckon that might be the biggest flop if they end up dropping out of the top 5.
Well, it'll come back to COVID season with Arsenal and Ole. Yeah. When Ole went on like that 20-game unbeaten run at the end with Pogba and Matic in their best form they've been ever at United.
No fans, away runs, great times. Well, there we go. That's a weekend. Wasn't much to talk about this weekend.
No.
But I think as we get closer to the end, I have some more mock-up ideas in terms of combined 11s and some fun games to go with. But as far as the Premier League goes, probably our quietest for a while. So
Yeah, definitely quiet, but yeah,
we've made do.
Yeah, tasked everyone. So last time I was here, I said to get over the 400 subscribers.
We've done that.
So that was 2 weeks ago to the day.
We're on 421, I think, at the moment.
Yeah, so I know it's a big call, but can we hit 450 for the 50th?
Oh, that'd be exciting.
For the 50th.
Let's do that. Let's do that. I'll promo to hell this podcast and we'll make it get there.
Yeah, so if you reach for the stars, you might hit the moon.
Yeah, might be 500. Maybe not.
Yeah,
500 for 50 episodes.
So I'm reaching for the stars here, but come on, let's get there. Let's get to the 450 by the 50th episode.
That'd be massive. You know what? We'll get over. I'll try and get everyone on. We'll try and organise a time. Hope that fits everyone.
Going to be a huge.
We'll get all 4 of us on, and you know what? It'll be after Liverpool. It'll be after the City Arsenal. So it'll be a massive. Actually, your thoughts on that? Your prediction on that? Because I won't see you until next week. City Arsenal. Is it another draw?
City 2-1.
Yeah, so I'm a 2-1 merchant as well, but I'll be different. I'm gonna go. Oh God, I'll go. I'll go 3-1 to be different. City. I think City at home's different, right? Like it's one thing beating them.
Nah, I don't know if it's different.
They didn't get beaten at home.
Yeah, I don't know. I want to go Arsenal, but
I can't see it going to the Etihad. Maybe a draw, maybe a 1-1. In my mind, it's 2-1 or 1-1.
Yeah,
that's in my mind. But to be different, I'll go 3-1 because why not? Be fun with it.
Fair enough.
Massive week of action coming up. Obviously, we'll have all of us back on 50th. But yeah, gee, we made do this week. Thank us in the comments. We've done well. We talked for an hour, so an hour and 15 minutes of waffle this week. Thanks for jumping on.
Thank you.
Hopefully, Flynn will be here next week. Otherwise, we definitely.
I'll drag him out of the basso.
I'll rip the contract. I'll promise the contract next week. I'll rip it on camera.
I'll tie him up and drag him here on the back of the car.
I'll force him asleep here on Sunday night, and we'll get him here on Monday morning to make sure he's here on time. Thanks for listening, guys. Remember, 5 stars on Spotify. Follow on Spotify. Follow on Apple Podcasts. Like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. And, listen to the man. Let's get to 450 by next week. Until next time, guys. See you later.